if we were taking BP, all right, who's a better hitter,
Me.
Jack or Chad?
Me. I can hit. I can do it from both sides of the ditch. It doesn't matter. Both sides. It's all me.
Hey, I'll give it to Cheese.
You know, hey, last time that you sounded that confident, Cheese, you said you had a strap, and I actually heard before this episode that you didn't.
I didn't say it's always high,
Hey,
but
let's talk about, do we need to bring it back to middle school basketball? What happened in middle school basketball?
I wasn't comfortable then. I'm comfortable now.
He was the last. It sounds like Chad, you were the last to be picked in middle school.
No, I was just the king of the assist. I wasn't a shooter.
But really, I want to get the story. I want to get the backstory. I want to start with where you're from. You know, where are you from, and like, how did this come to be where you're like a boxer? Like, that blows my mind that people just, I'm a boxer now. Like, how does that happen?
Well, I'm from Puerto Rico, right? And then I was always the small kid in the classroom, right? So I had to figure it out, do things to make other people respect me or just not bully me. So I was telling everyone since I was like in 4th or 5th grade. I remember I was telling everyone I was a boxer, and it wasn't true. I wasn't a boxer. And then I was saying I was like a black belt in boxing, and that doesn't even exist. So anyway, it was like a dream for me, and I was just faking it like I was a boxer. And then one day my mom told me, if you wanna really do boxing, I want good grades. You give me good grades, I'll take you to the boxing gym. And I was like, say no more, Mom.
I wanted to talk about, you know, how you did individually. You know, I see 255 batting average, which we know you probably would have liked higher, and you got 17 runs, 16 RBIs. You did have a bomb in there. And it seems like your fielding percentage is what you're known more for. So how did you feel about your first season, you know, as a freshman individually?
First season, it was a lot of working errors going in. Starting is not how I wanted to start. You know, I wanted to be more consistent, but it was amazing. I couldn't change one thing about it. Obviously did not want to end up the way we did, but individually, I think my fielding percentage, like that's what I was known for, but I feel like I made the most changes hitting wise.
Yeah, I mean, you got the fielding percentage. I got it here as 933, which is amazing. And I got to ask you about the Sports Center top 10 play. How amazing did that feel? I mean, I posted that clip out there for people to see, and people saw that and they were like, wow.
Yeah, I grew up watching Sports Center all the time. I couldn't believe I was on the screen, honestly. It's amazing. It's something that, you know, you do 100% all the time in practice. You do it, but it's cool that it's captured and, you know, you're on Sports Center one day.
Yeah, I mean, I was impressed with the catch, but Daniel immediately messaged me and he was like, forget that. Look at the gun from the knees. Like, I mean, you just threw a dart. Let's go there. I mean, you're jumping into the middle of these games against big time opponents. I mean, you know, you're rattling off Bama, you know, like what's it like just, you know, jumping in the middle of those games against big time opponents like that?
Honestly, man, that was tough, you know, just being on the sideline for an hour and a half or however long it was, you know, and then just hopping in and be like, hey, here's Bama, go get them. You know, it's just kind of like, all right, appreciate it. But, you know, it's awesome, man, playing in the SEC. I tell you, man, the coolest experience to me was the Georgia game this year. Just because of the scenario and stuff like that. We had like 40-something scholarship players, 52 total players or something going down to play them because of COVID. So the funny story is that we're actually sitting in the parking lot on the buses for like 2 hours before, like Leach is on the phone with the commissioner, all that stuff, trying to figure out if we can even go. So after 2 hours, we finally loaded up, went and got on the plane, flew to Atlanta, drove to Athens, woke up. We have like a 6 o'clock game the next day. We're staying like somewhere between Atlanta and Athens. I mean, we get off the bus. It's like the coolest atmosphere in the world, coolest stadium. And I mean, we probably should have won the game. You know, they scored in the last couple minutes of the game and beat us by a touchdown. So, I mean, that just shows like what we're like as a program, and that's one thing that I've kind of connected with is that Mississippi State is the same as me. We don't get respected. We're kind of like the last dog to the bowl, so to speak. And we have to scratch and claw for everything we've ever gotten. That's just like me. I'm not the most talented person in the world, and I never will be. But I'm gonna fight your ass off, and I'm gonna get everything I can get out of myself.
Yeah, Randy's a big Tennessee fan. We had a lot of Tennessee guys on the podcast. So, honestly, we were all rooting on the other side. And, man, you ripped their hearts out, man, that game. Like, obviously, it's a team game, but you specifically, defensively, offensively. And the first question I got to ask you out the gate, man, I'm going to find out a lot about you right here. What was the better feeling, the 3 for 4 with the home run or that defensive play in the bottom of the fourth?
Dang, that's hard. Honestly, I'd probably say the 3 for 4 with the bomb.
Really, man? I actually thought you were going to say, I told the guys before the podcast, I thought you would say the defensive play. That I watched it like 5 more times preparing for this episode. Man, dude, that was so nasty. Like, I still don't even know how you made it. Yeah, you hurt Randy's heart, man. Like,
bro, I ain't gonna lie though, nothing but respect. Tip of the cap to you, G, because that was cold.
And I'm, I guess, the best player on my team, my high school team, and make the state championship. And I tell my parents, like, hey, I don't want y'all to come. Can you believe that? How selfish that is of me? But I just couldn't get over it. I was like, I'm gonna be too nervous because, like, on paper, I was supposed to win the match. Like, it was no big deal, but it's just something about it. I don't know. And so actually I told my friends, hey, come out, watch me play. And, a lot of my high school came out and watched, and which was awesome. And my buddy told me after the match, he's like, dude, your mom, was it like, there's this, like, I wouldn't say woods, but just like, there's a lot of trees and over in this one area next to the court. I wouldn't say right next to it, but it's close. And my buddy said, hey, dude, your mom was in these trees wearing camo with binoculars, watching me play from a distance. Is that not insane?
Dude, she was up in the deer stand watching. I love it.
Man.
I think, as we did our research, found some more intriguing stuff about you that we wanted to lead off with. So, talk to me about Team NEGU and the Jesse Reed Foundation and what that means to you and what your role in all that is.
Oh, well, it's kind of a long story now, but the Jesse Reed Foundation is a non-for-profit, and what they do is they recognized early on that a lot of foundations focus a lot on the cure, which is incredible. We obviously need to find the cure, but there aren't many foundations that focus on care, which is pretty much spreading joy to those kids while they're fighting, spreading joy to those families while they're watching their child fight. So what the Jesse Reese Foundation does is they have these little joy jars full of toys packed up to the top. So cool. But I ended up getting involved with them at the area code games in high school. Took a couple of hospital visits with them. And then once I got to Kentucky, tried to keep it going. So started taking some of my teammates and then some of the other teams at Kentucky to the hospital to deliver these joy jars. Eventually started hosting some kids at some home games, but obviously the last 2 years, COVID kind of knocked that out of the park. Wasn't allowed to do that anymore. But other than that, no, they mean the world to me. And I got a pass that kind of points towards why I've fallen in love with something like that, but we can get into that later.
Yeah, we have great athletes all the time as far as like academically in the classroom and excelling athletically on the field, but it's, not that the guys don't have a passion or a heart or a charitable bone. You, however, have created something and really created a culture at the University of Kentucky, and it's bled into the players, the coaches, and the actual mantra. Like, when you presented this idea to the coach, how was it received, and did you imagine that it would take off the way that it did?
Honestly, going into it, I wasn't quite sure. So when I got on campus, Coach Mingione had literally just been hired like 2 weeks before. And he asked us to come in and we had our entry meetings and he wanted us to tell him our student, our person, and our player goal for the semester. And my person goal was to kind of start this relationship between the Jesse Reese Foundation and the University of Kentucky. And Coach Minch was very quick to say, sign me up, let's do it. We'll figure it out. We'll try to get in the hospital this fall. So it ended up being accepted perfect. But then at the same time, you got to find kids on the team that want to do it as well. And honestly, I didn't feel anything but support from the guys. I had to tell people no trying to get into the hospital because we were only allowed 8 to 10 guys, and I'd have 20 dudes wanting to come with me. So I had to literally make lists saying like who's gone so I can bring the next time. But no, everybody bought into it and loved it.
That speaks volumes for two reasons. One, it speaks to the leadership that you have on that team, that guys listen to you and they buy into what you're asking of them. But also it just speaks to the quality of player and the character that the baseball team at the University of Kentucky they go after and they look for. Man, stand up guys, you especially leading the way on that. For the audience members that want to help out, donate, like what's the best way to do that?
It's very easy. If you just type in the Jesse Reese Foundation, they make it pretty convenient for you to get right on their page and donate. So if you just search it on Google, it'll be the first thing that pops up. I think it's actually negu.org, negu.org. That should take you right there, but they make it super easy. I don't know exactly where it is, but if I can find it, you guys can find it.
Yeah, we'll definitely make sure we find it. We're gonna promote that for you, but also here on and off the bench, we like to lead by example as well. And our sponsors and Jim and I and Randy got together, and we're gonna get you $1,000 for Team Negu and the Jesse Reese Foundation. So,
Oh my gosh.
just wanted to throw that at you and let you know. I wanted to lead off with that, kind of set the tone for tonight, and just let you know that what you're doing is admirable. What you're giving is something that not every athlete is doing, and I hope that they listen, and I hope that they can find something that they can find as passionate about that you have with Team Negu, and they can do the same.
That's absolutely incredible. I was not expecting that at all. And I know the Reese family will very, very appreciate it.
Bypass it, but we're gonna talk about game two, and Houston was on the mound. One of the cool things was some of the parents of the team took care of me and my son. They put us directly behind home plate. So man, I got to see you up close and personal the whole night. And it was actually a Vanderbilt fan who brought it to my attention when it happened in real time. And then we talked about it with Hootie. So I'm going to discuss it with you. So he does his rocking thing that he does. That that's why we called his episode "Lean with It, Rock with It." And he stopped rocking, and he held forever. And you and him were on a clear communication breakdown. And then he ends up giving that home run to Rodriguez. Now the Vanderbilt fan, like I said, he said, man, it seemed like he lost his rhythm, his flow that he's in. He got held up. Him and the catcher weren't on the same page. And so then Hootie confirms and says, the pitch he wanted, you did not want to call. What's up with that?
That just doesn't sound right at all. At all.
I don't know. He held for a long time.
I did not want to call. Oh, what he ended up throwing, I think, a changeup. I think that's what he threw. Yeah, I didn't want to call a changeup to that guy because he stands right on top of the plate, and I've caught 15 of his at bats at this point, and I'm like, all right, so I mean, if we can get a heater in right here, he's going to get blown up. I'm pretty sure that's what I was trying to call, and Hootie wanted the changeup, so we call it the changeup. He gives up a homer. That's what happened.
So we got the real story. So now we know that he doesn't go to the bottom of the dog pile, and he threw the wrong pitch. It's all exposed.
What sport was it other than soccer? What was that passion that you had, or what was the sport that was the most fun to play?
I'm kind of torn between three. One was more competitive because I did it with my school, and that was definitely volleyball. I'm a sucker for volleyball. And then once I found out you could compete in wake surfing and water skiing, I got super into that as well.
I mean, if there's a competitive piece to it, you're in for it, right? You're game.
Oh, all in. Spike ball, you name it.
Man, I feel bad for your sister because I'm sure it was just total domination.
Literally, the meeting finished. 10 seconds later, I had 4 or 5 coaches calling me, like, "Hey, what's going on? You didn't take the band." I said, "Look, coach, there's some stuff that's going on in the locker room. It's some stuff that I feel like the staff is doing and saying, but they're not really, leveling up on it. I just don't feel like we're a team yet. And I would be wrong sitting here being a freshman to take your band, knowing that I just don't buy into everything just yet." And,
for those that can't see it, what does the band say?
Oh, this band here says, "Ole Miss Rebels, take a stand, all in." So that's kind of what it's, and I've never taken it off. But what I gained is my next year when we did it, and I felt we were more of a team, and you could see a change in our record, and it's changing. That's the next year we popped. But I took the band because we were closer. We had that senior class that was there when we got there. They had a lot of baggage going and a lot of crap going on in the locker room that shouldn't have been doing and all this. We just wasn't there yet. But when I took it, Freeze made it very clear, like we obviously doing something right if Q came down here to take the band. And that was kind of the thing. But it's one of those things. I got to stand up for what I believe in. And that's what I challenge kids to do every day. If you believe in something, stand up for it. It doesn't matter being a freshman or a senior. If I didn't feel like something was right, I would talk to them about it. I would bring it up. It was Laquan Treadwell. To this day, we talk about it. It was times Laquan, he used to always go to the coach and say, "Q needs to play more. Q knows the playbook. He's fast. He's doing this." But I used to always tell Quan is, "Bro, Markel Pat, that's all he has. If I play more, Markel Pat has to play less. I want Pat to make it and be a better player. So you know what? Stop doing that. Don't go to coach. You know what I'm saying? Let him play who he want to play. I'll be all right. I want my teammate to have fun."
Have the painful truth, or would you rather have a comforting lie?
Painful truth.
This is a big league. This is a big league question. Liam, what do you got? Comforting lie or painful truth?
Well, the painful truth, I guess. Yeah, painful truth.
Man, I'm getting pulled to that comfort, but that just that sends you down just a whirl of badness. So I'm gonna go, the painful truth.
Yeah.
Liam, real quick, is the painful truth right now that you're in the stairwell of the hotel?
Yeah, that is painful truth. And and that my defense is giving up too many points. I'm going to lose fantasy this week.
Would you rather spend 10 years in a coma, or 5 years in jail?
Oh, damn.
I know.
10 years in a coma, bro. 10 years in a motherfucking coma, bro. No, bro, jail sucks. For real.
All right. Y'all heard it from the baddest dude that we've ever had on this podcast. So all them baseball players that come on here saying they're gonna take jail, bullshit. And I tell them that.
I kind of think the Braves have that, they obviously went through this year where they weren't, they were probably a 500 team at some point and really kind of just grinded their way into, in the back half of the season into the playoffs. And now I think they're, this is going to be a really good World Series, and it already has been. Who knows what happens these next 2 games, but I think they're that team that's just scary at the same time, that maybe they weren't, the most talented, but they've looked at some of the guys they've pieced together and pulled together that have just, persevered and made them become who they are at the same time. So I think there's, in a sense, kind of 2 different aspects there. I don't know one or the other, but I will say, I think the Braves look pretty scary, and who knows what can happen 2 more games in Minute Maid in Houston, but they've definitely, and watching some of their, like, the bullpen guys that have come out and done such great things. And I know they've been in some situations, especially like against the Dodgers and stuff like that to get here. And they just seem to be, getting hot at the right time, as you would say.